This is one of the most legendary cars in the world of endurance racing. It only ever competed once, but on that day, it claimed victory in one of the world's most prestigious races. It was based on one of the most extraordinary production cars ever made. One that, at the time, redefined boundaries. Since that win, the car has been in hiding. Remarkably, it hadn't been filmed in action before, outside of its single outing at the 1995 24 Hours of Le Mans. McLaren's heritage team gave us exclusive access at its shakedown, ahead of its run at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. Let's take a closer look. This is the McLaren F1 GTR, and this very one, in fact, won at the 1995 Le Mans 24 Hours. It was in this car the likes of Yannick Dalmas, Masanori Sekiya and Lehto all came through the field to win that year's Le Mans in torrential conditions. And in fact, it was Lehto's stint in this car that's held up as one of the greatest Le Mans stints at night ever to have been raced. This wasn't Lehto's first race at Le Mans, but as he explained when we caught up with him at Goodwood, ahead of being reunited with his F1 GTR before heading up the famous hill climb, his manager, Keke Rosberg, wasn't keen on him racing at Lausanne at all.
In 1990, that was the first year when the chicanes came to Mulsanne Straight. And I always wanted to do Le Mans. And my manager, Keke Rosberg, he was saying that no way, you are not going there because the Mulsanne is so dangerous. And when the chicanes came on in 1990, then he said, okay, if you want to do it, you can do it. So that was the first year with 962 Porsche. And then, 1995 with McLaren was the third time. We did some testing earlier springtime, and I did some running for Ron and for McLaren. And then in the end, they decided that they want to enter one more car into the race. That was just as simple as that.
But the thing is, the McLaren F1 was never meant to become a racing car. It was simply supposed to be a high-performance road car, naturally at a very high price point, developed by Gordon Murray to showcase a load of Formula One level technology.
Everybody was saying that, oh my God, it's going to be something special, but it's going to cost $1 million or whatever, so it sounded a little bit crazy. But, if you think about it, how the cars are valued nowadays, it would have been a good investment.
But the thing is, once the World Sports Car Championship died out, a lot of GT series tried to take its place. And naturally, there was a lot of interest in turning the McLaren F1 into something like this. McLaren and Murray were reluctant to make the F1 into a racing car, but they eventually relented in time for the 1995 sports car season. There's not actually that much difference between the road-going version and the GTR. So in the back, you've still got a 6.1 litre BMW V12.
I knew that in GT class, we would be on top, no problems at all. The car was fast, and once you set up the car nicely, it's not the easiest car to drive because the engine is really heavy at the back, V12 BMW engine, powerful, torquey.
And actually the engine in this is very slightly depowered. Due to the sports car regulations at the time, it had to run with a restrictor plate, so it actually only runs to 600 brake horsepower. There's a few other changes to the car too, a series of added ventilation to ensure that the BMW in the back could run for longer at higher speeds. And of course, the driving cabin is greatly changed as well. There were originally 2 passenger seats here and here. Those have been taken out. We've got the roll cage in there. Simply the central driving position remains.
It's a road car built for 3 people, and you always sit in the middle, so it's like a single-seater, but just with a little bit bigger space.
But if we've covered off the fact why the F1 was never meant to be raced, this one even less so, because it was simply a development model. But the Kokusai Kaihatsu team that entered this car came into the Le Mans 24 Hours so late that it ended up running with the development model, this one being the 01R.
We didn't do that much together before Le Mans, so it was a really intensive weekend, to do everything. I start on Monday, work throughout the week, do all the testing, all the work, and getting the team together, and getting of course, McLaren brought a lot of people as well. And all the other teams, they have been established, they have been doing GT racing already, and suddenly we just came into Le Mans, and it was kind of a surprise for them as well. The car had a lot of roll, and you really need to get into it, You really need to learn to drive the car proper way, and just trust that, even if it rolls a lot, it doesn't matter. You still have the grip. But if you make the car stiffer, then you lose the rear end very quickly.
Now, during that Le Mans race, there were a series of WSC prototypes, LMP2 cars as well, that were faster and much more powerful than this.
You always have to remember that one driver can never win Le Mans. There always has to be 3 drivers. And you know, how to set up the team, how to set up the drivers, who's the best, you know, to drive at night, who's the best, you know, driving in sunset and sunrise and, you know, things like that. And, you know, of course, the happy hours during the Sunday morning, you know. And it's just, you know, there's so many different elements going on throughout 24 hours. So the whole week is really preparing and working out and making the right decisions for the race. And I knew that, you know, in GT class, of course, McLaren is on top. But, you know, the prototypes were there and they are much faster. If it would have been dry race, I don't think that we would have had a chance to win it. But, you know, luckily it rained for 18 hours, so the game was changed and leveled up totally. And really, that was the thing.
And indeed, the rain was a tremendous factor throughout the race. The favourites for victory had been the WSC prototype cars, but those at the front in the early stages ended up suffering in the awful weather. For the slower McLaren's entrance in the GT1 category, the race had begun to come to them. So how was it that the McLaren GTR came to win? Well, simply it was due to reliability, and due to the wet conditions, a number of cars came off. Lehto did an amazing stint where on some laps he was 20 seconds a lap faster than his competitors.
The car was nice to drive in the rain because heavy engine at the back, so we had a lot of traction. And the other thing is that, of course, Michelin tires, Michelin people, you know, all the technicians, you know, they were really working hard throughout the night to get the best tires for us all the time because the rain was so heavy. It was just, you know, aquaplaning everywhere, every corner, you know. And brakings were difficult, traction, no traction at all, so you had to play all the time, try to find the right lines and things like that. So 24 hours, it felt like 48 hours. Then also we have to remember that in the 90s, the track was still dark at night. Nowadays, if you go there, like this year, there's so many more lights at the track and around the track that you can see much better. But in those days, you know, 95 headlights, low down, not the best ones, you know, completely dark, raining like hell, and you know, it's just, you know, you just had to survive.
And that's not to say that the car didn't face any reliability issues at all. Because the race was so wet and so muddy, all of the McLarens suffered a little bit of an issue with gear selection. So during the race, all the teams operating the McLaren F1 GTR popped a little bit of WD-40 within the gear system, and it was all good to go. This set up a battle between Lehto and Derek Bell, but with less than 2 hours to go, Bell encountered the worst of the gear selection issues, suffering a spin and then later struggling to get out of the pits, while the drivetrain was apparently clogged with grime. The number 59 stayed resolute, in the lead until the very end. They came home to clinch a famous and unexpected victory at Le Mans.
I think that it was a kind of a surprise to everybody that, you know, McLaren can win Le Mans in first attempt. In those days, everybody was always saying that if you are doing single-seaters, you are a sprint racer. So you can't be a long-distance racer. But it all changed on Sunday afternoon. When you win the race, then suddenly you are not a sprint racer anymore. You are both.
For Lehto, this had been a remarkable turnaround. After 2 accidents in 1994, had effectively ended his Formula One career.
I had the accident in '94 and it all went a little bit bad, you know, because the recovery and everything, you know, it took a long time to get the neck back in normal sort of form. And '95 Le Mans was the first time when I was 100% in shape. You always remember that because there was a lot of pain throughout '94 and, you know, everything was going wrong. And then '95 suddenly you win Le Mans and, you know, it was like, you know, new world. In Le Mans '95, checkered flag drops, you know, little party, you know, everybody's happy, car is gone, and you know, you don't see it anymore. I have been waiting for 30 years to get back in a car. It's exactly the same. It has the same brakes than, you know, during the race. No, you get in a car first time, you know, the belts, yeah, of course, everything is like this. Okay, the buttons, yeah, mirrors, all the setups, you know, reset the fuel, things like that. It's like yesterday.
After 30 years, JJ finally got to drive his winning car up the hill at Goodwood. So, to truly celebrate the F1 GTR, let's take a ride with him on board and listen to that glorious V12 engine. This particular car only ever entered one race, and arguably the most prestigious, and it won it. This is a car of Le Mans legend, and so it's amazing to be standing next to it.